An Israeli airstrike hit a village in northern Lebanon. The target was Aitou. The airstrike killed at least 18 people. This is a major escalation in the ongoing conflict. The attack hit a residential building. Many countries condemned the attack. Germany called Israel's actions completely unacceptable. The attack has made many afraid. They worry a larger war could start in the Middle East. The situation is very tense. The international community is watching closely. They hope for a de-escalation of violence. The situation is complex and dangerous.
The international community reacted strongly to the airstrike, with leaders from various nations voicing their disapproval. The attack has sparked a wave of condemnation across the globe. Many countries condemned the attack on civilians, emphasizing the need to protect innocent lives. Protests erupted in several cities, with people demanding an end to the violence. They called for restraint from all sides, urging both parties to come to the negotiating table. Diplomatic efforts are being intensified to de-escalate the situation. The United Nations is deeply concerned about the potential for further violence. They have issued statements urging immediate ceasefire and dialogue. They are working to prevent further violence, with peacekeeping forces on high alert. Negotiations are being pushed forward to find a peaceful resolution. The United States, a close ally of Israel, expressed concerns over the escalating tensions. They have been in constant communication with both sides, advocating for peace. They urged their citizens to leave Lebanon immediately, citing safety concerns. The U.S. Embassy has been actively coordinating evacuation efforts. Special flights were organized for evacuations, ensuring the safe return of citizens. The urgency of the situation has led to swift action. The situation highlights the volatile nature of the region, where tensions can quickly escalate into full-blown conflict. Military presence has been ramped up as a precaution. The attack has created a ripple effect, heightening tensions not just locally but globally. News outlets are closely monitoring the developments. The risk of a wider conflict is real, with armed forces on standby and regional leaders discussing defense strategies. The international community is on edge. The coming days are crucial, as diplomatic efforts intensify to prevent further escalation. The world is holding its breath, hoping for a peaceful resolution. The world is watching for signs of de-escalation, with newsrooms around the globe providing continuous updates. The hope is that cooler heads will prevail and peace will be restored.
The situation in Gaza is dire. The streets are filled with the echoes of explosions and the cries of those who have lost everything. Homes have been reduced to rubble, and the air is thick with smoke and dust. Israeli airstrikes continue to bombard the area relentlessly, leaving no corner untouched. The skyline is frequently lit up by the flashes of explosions, a constant reminder of the ongoing conflict. Thousands of civilians are trapped in this war zone. They are unable to escape the violence and are forced to seek refuge in overcrowded shelters. These families are living in constant fear, unsure of what the next moment will bring. Food, water, and medicine are scarce. Shelves in stores are empty, and people are lining up for hours just to get a few liters of water. The shortage of medical supplies is critical, with hospitals unable to provide adequate care. The UN describes the situation as a humanitarian crisis. Hospitals are overwhelmed with the injured and sick. Medical staff are working around the clock, but the sheer number of patients is too much to handle. They lack the resources to treat the injured properly. Makeshift medical facilities have been set up, but they are far from sufficient. Doctors and nurses are doing their best with what little they have. The constant airstrikes make it unsafe for aid to reach those in need. Aid trucks are halted by the conflict, and damaged roads make transportation nearly impossible. Aid workers themselves are under threat, risking their lives to help others. The people of Gaza are facing a desperate situation. Families are grieving the loss of loved ones, and children are growing up amidst the chaos and destruction. The citizens are left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. The international community is calling for a ceasefire. Protests are erupting around the world, demanding an end to the violence. World leaders are in discussions, and the UN is holding emergency meetings to address the crisis. They urge all parties to allow humanitarian aid to reach those in need. Diplomatic efforts are being made to ensure that aid organizations can operate safely and provide the necessary relief to the affected population. The situation in Gaza is a humanitarian catastrophe unfolding. The scale of devastation is immense, and the need for immediate and sustained aid is critical. The world watches, hoping for a resolution to this tragic crisis.
Before the airstrike in Lebanon, Hezbollah attacked Israel. They used drones to target a military base. 4 Israeli soldiers were killed, dozens more were injured. Hezbollah claimed responsibility for the attack. Israel vowed a forceful response. They see the drone attack as a serious escalation. They blame Hezbollah for initiating the violence. The Israeli military launched airstrikes and tank shelling in Gaza. They claimed to target Hamas infrastructure and militants. However, many civilians were killed in the process. The international community condemned the civilian casualties. They call for an immediate ceasefire.
Iran, a key ally of Hezbollah, has spoken out. They condemned the Israeli airstrikes and warned that there will be no red lines in defending their interests.
Iran's foreign minister issued a veiled threat. He warned nations hosting U.S. military bases, saying Iran would respond if those bases were used to attack them.
The UK imposed sanctions on Iran, targeting individuals and organizations involved in their missile program. The UK condemns Iran's support for Hezbollah, believing that Iran is fueling the conflict. The situation is, well, pushing the region closer to a wider war.
The people of Gaza are caught in the crossfire, living each day in fear and uncertainty. The constant airstrikes have turned their lives into a nightmare, with explosions and destruction becoming a daily occurrence. There is no safe haven, no place where they can feel secure even for a moment. Homes, hospitals, and schools are all potential targets, leaving the most vulnerable without essential services.
Save the Children, an aid organization, warns of the dire situation, highlighting the urgent need for humanitarian assistance. They say there are no safe places left in Gaza, as the conflict has spread to every corner of the region. Children and families are at constant risk, their lives disrupted by the ongoing violence and instability. The lack of access to essential supplies is pushing them to the brink, with food, water, and medical supplies running dangerously low.
The international community calls for the protection of civilians, urging immediate action to prevent further suffering. They urge all parties to respect international humanitarian law, emphasizing the need for a ceasefire and peaceful resolution. The situation in Gaza is a humanitarian tragedy, with countless lives lost and communities torn apart by the relentless conflict. Despite the challenges, aid organizations continue to work tirelessly, providing much-needed relief to those affected. Around the world, people are raising their voices, calling for an end to the violence and a return to peace. Amidst the devastation, there are glimmers of hope as communities come together to rebuild and support one another. The resilience of the people of Gaza is a testament to their strength and determination to survive, even in the face of unimaginable hardship.
Aid organizations are working tirelessly. They aim to provide relief to those affected by the conflict. However, the ongoing violence makes their work extremely dangerous.
Doctors Without Borders, or MSF, reported the death of one of their workers in Gaza. He was killed by shrapnel from an Israeli airstrike. His death highlights the risks aid workers face.
Despite the dangers, organizations like Save the Children continue their work. They are conducting polio vaccinations for children. However, they stress that a ceasefire is crucial. Without it, their efforts are merely a temporary solution.
The international community is united in its call. They demand a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. The UN, the US, and regional powers are engaged in diplomacy. They urge all sides to return to the negotiating table.
However, progress is slow. Deep mistrust and conflicting demands hinder negotiations. The international community emphasizes the need for a political solution. They believe this is the only way to achieve lasting peace.
The world watches and hopes for a breakthrough. A ceasefire is crucial to stop the bloodshed and prevent further suffering.
The recent escalation raises serious concerns. The conflict has the potential to spiral out of control. The entire region could be engulfed in a wider war. The consequences would be devastating.
The international community must remain engaged. They must work towards a peaceful resolution. Dialogue and diplomacy are the only way forward. The coming days and weeks will be critical.
The world holds its breath. They hope for peace and stability in a region plagued by conflict.